Like a lot of companies, we grew quickly. With that growth came the necessity for strategies and systems in place. Unfortunately, didn't have that in place before we grew. And so because of that, there was quite a bit of chaos. There was quite a bit of balls being dropped, plates being dropped, whatever you want to say. We were spending way more money than we should to complete a task or a project because we were doing it last second. Chaos is completely preventable. It's a matter of planning, right?
Hey, welcome to the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd Dawalt. That's spelled D-A-W-A-L-T. I'm your host, and we are all about helping construction business owners have more freedom, more impact, and more wealth by systematizing your construction business. Think self-managing company, a business that runs without you. Here's what you're going to get from this interview with Cole West, the integrator for Matchless Concrete Construction, a commercial concrete contractor in South Carolina. Some of the side effects of rapid growth that they were experiencing there at Matchless Concrete, why you can't sell your way out of chaos. Speaking of chaos, we talk about this question: is chaos in construction preventable or not? There's a question that Cole asks his team whenever they ask him a question. And you may want to steal this idea. We talk about a simple adjustment that they made that has been saving them around $40,000 a month. And we get into the systems and tools that Cole and his team learned in our Systematize Your Construction Business program and the results that they've seen so far. And there's a story about tire changers that might hit home with you. So if you'd like my team's help to systematize your construction business, then the first step is to schedule a business evaluation call over at constructionleadingedge.com/apply, or go to constructionleadingedge.com and click on the apply button. Now, let's get to my conversation with Cole West from Matchless Concrete Construction. Enjoy. Cole, welcome to the Construction Leading Edge podcast. How's it going today?
Going well. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate you having me.
Tell us a little bit about the work you do, the name of your company, and where you guys are located, first of all.
I'm with Matchless Concrete Construction. We're based in the upstate of South Carolina. And as the concrete construction alludes, we are a concrete contractor. Commercial work is primarily our focus, and we actually do a lot of grocery stores, remodels, fresh builds, that kind of thing.
Give us an idea of the size of your company, sizes of projects, number of employees, things like that.
Yeah, so we have roughly at any given time about 25 to 30 people that work for us. About $8 million annually is where we're trending right now. So projects range anywhere from small $30,000 upfits to $2 million jobs, depending on what's available and how close to upstate South Carolina we can find work. So,
and what is your role there with the company?
My title is project manager, but we've had some reclassification going on with the Systematize Your Business, and that's going to change from a title standpoint. But ultimately, my role is more on the financial and strategic planning side. As if you get into the system, generally I'm an integrator, so I'm kind of making developing partnerships between all facets of the business and being a go-between for the overall vision of the company.
Tell us a little bit about your background. What sort of work have you been doing that led you to this point?
Yeah, my personal background is I come from a builder family. Construction is in our DNA. Since I was a boy, I was on job sites, and my dad's a commercial concrete constructor. He's done a lot of memorable work has the flattest floor at one time, been honored at the World of Concrete, things like that. But I set out of the plan to not do construction, believe it or not. And I went into retail management. And for about 16 years, I was in retail management, multi-unit retail management. So actually on the motorcycle industry, I worked for a company called Cycle Gear for a little over 14 years and a couple other odds and end jobs between there. So, and then found my way back to the construction industry, predominantly for the freedom it's been able to provide. You get out of construction because it's really tough, and you go into the corporate world, but that's so structured compared to what construction can give you. That predominantly I'm at a place now where I really want to work-life balance, the family environment. I'm a Bible believer, so faith, family, work, fun is kind of my my hierarchy of to-dos, and this construction industry has been able to provide that. So
some people might be surprised by what you just said, that you went into construction to have more freedom because it offers more freedom than the corporate world. There are probably a lot of people listening who haven't spent much time in the corporate world, but they might think it would be easier and have more freedom. What were the problems you were dealing with that made you decide to look to construction?
In the corporate world, and in my role in particular, so I had up to 16 stores where I was, essentially leading those stores. If the alarm goes off at 2 a.m., I have to formulate a game plan to make sure that our assets are protected, whether it be the people, the product in the store, whatever. So essentially my phone rang almost 24 hours a day, so, and it wasn't one of those things where I could pass the buck because it stopped with me. So there are the grass is greener on the other side type of mentality, but the corporate world is very structured. You have to be available, and no matter what, you're going to work hard, right? So there's no difference between that and the construction industry. But generally, the construction industry winds down on Friday afternoon. You get your vacations. This will be one of the first vacations for the holidays that I've had since I was out of college. So, I worked every holiday, every Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving and Christmas off, but you're prepping during those days. So Black Friday in the retail world is the biggest day of the year. So, you're just running and gunning. It's very busy. And, there's a time for that, just like anything. But I'm at a point now where the money and that world is beyond what I want to chase. And I'm stepping back into construction. And not that it's not hard and you could work yourself to a frenzy here too. But again, from my experience is if you plan and do things properly, you can have the off at 5, you can have your weekends, and you can have your vacations and make a living.
You have a background in the corporate world. You moved into construction, into what would be considered a small construction business. A lot of people who own construction businesses would say, nobody wants to come work for a small company. These guys and gals who work in corporate America, they have it made. They don't ever want to go anywhere. Nobody's interested in working for a small business. Obviously, you're a very smart guy, very experienced guy, got a lot of talent, and you came to a construction business. So what would you say to somebody who's a construction business owner who wants to attract people? What advice would you give them when it comes to attracting somebody who might not be working for a small business? Maybe they're in corporate America.
Well, I guess it's a challenge that we would all face, is how to attract talent and retain it, right? So, but I'd say the first thing you have to do, which your process or your SYCB program helps with, is identify what you need and how a person would fit in with you. It's hard to pitch somebody's, working for you if you don't know what they'll be doing or what winning looks like for them, right? So it'd be, and there's stories in this company since we started SYCB on showing that to some employees we've had and how they can step into that role. But in terms of attracting outside talent from another industry, it'd be similar to what I would be faced with in the retail world. How do you attract outside talent? You have to show them a path forward. You have to show them work-life balance. You have to show them the value that they can provide for the company. I don't know anybody that works for a company that's worth their weight that says they want chaos, they want ambiguity, they don't want to know what winning looks like. They want to come in and just, hope that things get done properly and that they're part of a company, or they're a part of succeeding. I don't know anybody that wants that. So showing somebody how that looks and how they can be a part of that, it can attract, anybody. You have to meet them where they are in their work career or their work path, because everybody takes a trajectory that's different. But if you can at least start there, get your needs and wants on paper and be able to, and they got to be simple, right? It can't be this data dump of 50,000 tasks that makes them a good person or a good asset to the company. It's a couple things that they do on a daily basis that helps you win, and show them that they can come in and be a part of that. And, more often than not, it's attractive if you do that, right?
When it comes to explaining what winning looks like, at some point in this conversation, I want to get to an example that you shared in one of our calls about a guy who was reluctant to step into a leadership position, but because of the way you communicated things to him and the way you set him up for success, he's a rock star now. So we'll definitely get to that. But you mentioned chaos, ambiguity, things that people don't want. Let's go back to what led you guys to contact us ultimately and join our Systematize Your Construction Business program. What were you guys dealing with prior to getting in our program?
I guess probably like a lot of companies, we grew quickly, right? And with that growth came, the necessity for strategies and systems in place. And we unfortunately didn't have that in place before we grew. And so because of that, there was quite a bit of chaos. There was quite a bit of balls being dropped, plates being dropped, whatever you want to say. A lot of things were in people's heads. There was, we were spending way more money than we should to complete a task or a project because we were doing it last second. And, the cost of that goes up exponentially the closer you get to the task needing to be done. So just planning was poor. And we were running, what I would say at max capacity or beyond max capacity, really just running at, with hopes. So unfortunately, I think that's the plight of a lot of construction companies. They grow faster than their systems or their plan, that the company is structured to do so. So, that's where we found ourselves in kind of that trap. And unfortunately, one of the things that I found out through your program is you can't outsell your way out of that. You can't out volume your way out of that. You have to have systems in place to make the money that you've already got and, have already won in the jobs. So that's what we set out to do with this system. And, unfortunately, it took us a little while longer than we wanted to. But if you go into a tunnel, it's dark. If you come out of the tunnel, it's light. It depends on what you're looking at. We're now looking at the light. And we're not there yet, but it's been a great journey.
I want to talk about a couple of things you mentioned there. You said one thing you learned was you can't sell your way out. You can't volume your way out. And I think I want to talk about that a little bit. What do you mean by that? What do some people try to do? Maybe what did you guys try to do that didn't work?
If you're looking at financial statements, or you're looking at a balance sheet, or you're looking at the way that the health of the organization, a trap is to think we need more sales, we need more money to pay for the things that we have. The reality is if you are, and you have a revenue maximizer that we've used, I really do like that because I'm a numbers guy. Emotions, I'm don't run off of emotions, but anyway, so with the revenue maximizer, you can see what it takes to get to make ends meet, right? To make ends meet at the end of the month. And with that, you don't need to be greedy with this. You can be very, very frugal, and you can either go after more volume or you can back off and tighten the hatch is what I call it. But essentially you get into a trap where you're feeling behind. Your cash flow is a little bit askew. You've got accounts receivable, payable imbalances, things like that. And then you go after it with volume and not better systems, not taking a step back and saying, okay, we have volume. We have enough to make ends meet. We're just bleeding it. We're just throwing it away in inefficiencies with, materials, inefficiencies with our labor or whatever it is. And you don't really have a target to attack, and you just go after it with what which is to go sell or go, produce more. I personally don't want to do stuff for free. And that's what I feel like a lot of times happens, right? You get the job, you throw everything you have at it, and you get it out the gate, and then you make no money on it. So I would rather back down a little bit on volume, tighten the belt, tighten all our processes, and make more money at the end of the day with it, because it's possible. It sounds silly, it sounds backwards, but it's very possible.
You mentioned that balls were getting dropped. Can you expand on that a little bit? Can you give us some examples of balls that were getting dropped that led to profit bleeds?
We've got quite a few crews running around, at least 4 at all times. So with that, if we had a job in Columbia and a job in Asheville, and we have equipment that could potentially be used in both areas, the time that we were not planning ahead. So we would end up renting in one location or renting in both locations for, say, a skid steer, a track hoe, whatever it is. And our rental bill went from about $55,000 a month to about $5,000 a month by doing some of the systems that you have in place. So now that's very anecdotal. I mean, that's a specific number for the first 2 months. So I don't know how it'll trend over a year, but it is what it is at this point. You can take that savings and apply it. So in terms of balls being dropped, you're talking scheduling, you're talking material ordering, you're talking equipment ordering, you're talking, we need more people than we can keep up with, the labor shortages. I don't know an area of production that wasn't being dropped to some degree, right? And that all is percents here and percents there in terms of margin. And at the end of the day, we were at times doing work for free with great volume. And that's just not where we wanted to be.
I'm curious, what were some of the the ripple effects of some of that chaos and the balls being dropped. There's the financial effect, obviously. How was it affecting the team? Was it affecting customers?
A part of what Matchless wants to be known for is quality work done on time with great communication, right? That's kind of our quick hitter vision of what we want to be doing on a daily basis. Well, all three of those areas were not being, lived up to. So the quality was slipping. The timing was slipping. We were running behind on projects at times. And the communication was certainly slipping. We were starting to hear rumblings of, hey, we can't get a hold of this guy or this person or that person. So, ultimately then your vendors become aware of that, right? The suppliers become aware of that. The in-house office team starts to feel like we're not living up to what we want to do. And of course, it has an impact on the field staff who are out there working their butts off, right? They're not there to not make the company look good. But if you do things incorrectly, it just happens. There's no intent behind it, but it certainly does happen. So taking a step back, slowing down, realizing where we're missing about, and then ultimately, providing a better quality on time, a greater communication was much more feasible. So yeah, in every area we were starting to see the ripple effects of the balls being dropped. And then ultimately the leadership team as well was feeling the stress of that, the chaos in their minds to where, they try to work more. They try to be in the office more, but they're not being productive. They're not being 1 hour being equal to 1 hour of production. It wasn't that. It's an hour being equal to, 10 minutes of production. So yeah, that's just pretty common when you get caught in a chaos circle, right?
So I'm curious, how was that chaos circle affecting you?
Yeah, so you end up running last minute errands. I'm supposed to be in the office, diving into the books, finding out finding the low lying fruit, things like that. And then all of a sudden I'm running, a piece of equipment here or there, or that, you just put out way too many fires when you get stuck in that circle, and you don't be what you're supposed to be as an integrator or as a leader. You're looking for the future. You're not into the long-term strategy sessions. You're not into any of that. You're just reacting at all times. And I tell any leadership group that I've ever worked with, you're a very expensive person to be running equipment, right? So you have to really take that into account when you make those decisions and figure out a way to not be doing that anymore. You got to get the job done. So don't leave your guys looking like idiots with their head, with their hand out. But at the same time, put a plan to fix that. Why are you doing this? Why are you having to do this last minute? And, a lot of times it takes looking in the mirror and that we didn't plan this out. So, and that's hard too.
That is tough to look in the mirror and say, oh, there's the guy, or there's the gal who's to blame for this. Yeah. So I think I'm curious what you think about this coming from outside of construction. Does construction have to be chaotic? I think a lot of people would believe that construction is chaotic. What do you think?
Everything's chaotic if you allow it to be, right? So yeah, construction can be chaotic, but it's Murphy's Law in any realm. If you want it to be chaotic, don't plan. Do it last minute. And you have no time to get ahead of the ball game, right? You can't drop. Nothing can fall because you have no time to react. So no, chaos is completely preventable. There's examples since the SYCB started when in the past we would be running, way over budget, way behind, and we've been able to, have issues, have things come up, still address them weeks before they're, supposed to be done. Make a plan, pivot when we had to, and still accomplish the job with great numbers. The finances are looking really good with those projects that had the same amount of chaos they would have had. They just didn't have it in the moment the job had to be done. So it's a matter of planning, right? Chaos becomes chaos when you add the time factor, in my opinion, because things are always going to be missed. But if you do it early, a couple weeks before our jobs are supposed to be done, months before bigger jobs, potentially years before even bigger jobs, you can absorb some of those problems. And if you don't do it, you're just asking for Murphy to kick your butt. So
you guys joined our Systematize Your Construction Business program a few months ago. Take us to the moment when you realized that the systems and processes you were implementing were actually working to solve some of those problems.
Yeah, so I have two specific instances where I was like, that's the program working. One of them references Max. He's an individual that works as a superintendent for us. And we could go into that now, but he's an employee that came on board. He worked for us in the past, and he came back on board and said he did not want to be a leader. He just wanted to be, a team member. Well, in the past, our superintendents had and to say 50 points for a job description is probably light. It was huge, right? The job description for a superintendent was way too big, too much for any one person to keep up with. And if you could keep up with it, then you're not going to be doing anything else, right? So with Max, we were able to show him, look, these big 5 items, which, these are what winning looks like for a superintendent. Do you think you can do these? Which he was already doing a lot of them. The majority of those big 5 items. The only thing he wasn't doing was keeping track of crew times. And that was it. So it was a very simple transition, and you can high five them on a daily basis. Man, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep those daily work logs coming. Keep your crew times, amended accurately, and you're winning. So, there's a couple more in there, but ultimately, again, quality, good communication, done on time. And then we've got a couple of extras, but that's what winning looks like. And he said, you know what, I do want that role. We put him in as assistant, and he's now a superintendent, which he said specifically when we hired him, he did not want. So that's one of those things where I was like, look, simplifying what a job description is, which is you go through and you work it out through the system, the big 5 items. It takes some lifting of your brain, right? You got to think outside of what you're used to doing, which job descriptions are a norm, right? But the big 5 just makes so much more sense. As we talked about, how do you attract people? Clarity, simplicity, what winning looks like. And that was able to, get Max into that. And then the other one, what I already mentioned, was when I saw the line item for rentals go from over $50,000 to $5,000. The reality is we have the equipment to run the amount of volume we have if we plan. If we don't, we do not have enough. And that's what we were running into last minutes. Everything was a last minute, and we, 1 month, $50,000, you do that times a year. Right. For a small business like ours, it has a powerful impact. Those are 2 specific instances. It seems like that happens a little more often than it doesn't. Like this system is working. But yeah, those are specific.
It sounds like the job, the duties didn't change a lot, but by clarifying and simplifying, it seems like that's what really helped him. What do you think was most beneficial to him? Why did the big 5, or why did explaining what winning looks like help him so much, do you think?
Well, because, if you go into a leadership role, you already are feeling like you're up against it. You have to be productive. You have to hit deadline. You have to be, every time you're at the job site, you're bringing a whole crew along, and they have to fall in line and do things the right way. And that's on you. So you're already feeling up against it. And then you have in our case, a job description that was too big, too hefty, too in the weeds, too in depth. You just feel like you can't win, or you don't know what it means to win, right? So you can work your tail off and then go home feeling like you didn't, which is terrible, right? And so if you're seeing it from your perspective as a field superintendent, and I'm seeing it as a different perspective as an operations manager, and our perspectives don't meet, you're going to feel disgruntled. You're going to start to build up, this sort of, what am I doing this for? So I think he sensed that in the past with other superintendents. To their credit, they've stuck it out, and a lot of them are still with us since he's been. But it wasn't attractive, right? So it wasn't something that he said, I want. But when you do clarify it and you say, I'm at the job site every day doing almost these exact same things, it's not like I'm taking on 50 checkpoints on a job description every day. I know what it means to win, and I'm getting high fives for it on a regular basis because we're also seeing these things because we've set that. It feels a lot better. So in feelings, I know we don't want to really operate off feelings, but when it comes to human nature and why do people make choices, I've seen people turn down big bonuses, big pay raises for their own human nature. So you have to meet them, and I think that's one way to achieve.
Hey, it's Todd here, and we have a couple of free resources that we want to get in your hands. First is our free training video, Get Out of Your Construction Business, How to Make It Run Without You This Year. Here's what you're going to get when you sign up for this free training video. You'll learn about the JETS thinking trap, which stands for just enough to start. That's probably keeping you stuck working in your business, and it keeps you stuck in firefighting mode, and it affects probably 90% of construction businesses. You'll also learn about the first few crucial steps you want to take if you want to spend more time working on your business instead of being stuck working in it. And you'll learn what nailing the handoff looks like and how it will help you eliminate 80% of your preventable schedule delays and profit bleeds. You can get your hands on that free video over at constructionleadingedge.com/get out. constructionleadingedge.com/GETOUT. And the second thing is a question. Here's a question. Is your business structured for success, or is it designed for failure? We found a study and found that there are 5 root causes of contractor failure, 5 primary reasons that successful contractors self-destruct. All right. This is information that we feel like every construction business owner should know about. You should know about it for 2 reasons. If you're a general contractor, 1, you need to find out if your business is structured for success. And if you're a general contractor and you have subcontractors, you may want to ask this question: are your subs structured for success or structured for failure? And if you would like to evaluate your business to see if it's designed for success, the next step is to apply for a business evaluation call with my team. We'll go through these 5 root causes of failure, evaluate your business, and then give you some pointers. Highlight the red flags, the early indicators that you may want to focus your energy on. And if it makes sense, we can talk through the details of our Systematize Your Construction Business program that will ensure it is structured for success. If you would like to schedule your free business evaluation, go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY, or simply go to our website, constructionleadingedge.com, and tap the Apply Now button. Now, let's get back to the episode. You learned a lot of tools and systems like the Big 5 in the Systematize Your Construction Business program. What would you say were some of the most impactful systems, processes, or tools that had the most effect for you guys?
Well, so for me in particular, although I'm not a CEO, the CEO schedule, and I believe it can be implemented to any person in the business, but the CEO schedule has been extremely helpful for me. Along with that, our 2-week look ahead, and we implement that in a weekly meeting. So our 2-week look ahead coupled with the team meetings that we have, and then with the 2-week look ahead, the most important thing, those most important thing tasks, if we can put those onto a 2-week look ahead, this is what we found. If we can identify the most important things, put them on a 2-week look ahead, and then communicate with our superintendents every week about those, then we're going to be way ahead of the game. When we talk about the rental savings, we talk about material pricing, we talk about, hitting budget or schedules for our general contractors, and be able to pivot if something falls through or some other trades in our way or whatever, it's way more manageable. And when we do it in the week, the 2-week look ahead matters. We tried it on Friday, didn't work. We tried it on Monday, didn't work. It works best for us on a Thursday. So for that, we have essentially half a Thursday to fix problems for next week and the following, and then also all of Friday. So that kind of is, a little more in the weeds, but ultimately the CEO schedule, 2-week look ahead, most important thing document. And I mentioned earlier the revenue maximizer. That's not necessarily something that everybody in the company is dealing with, but it sets the vision of the company on a month-to-month basis, right? If we're going to be a little tight next month, we know ahead of time. We're not reacting after like, oh, I don't know how we're going to do this or whatever. So you can use that to your effect and how in depth you want with it. But we've been just month to month setting next month's goal, going after it, and high fiving as we fly by it. So, and that's from a margin standpoint. Volume, we're not really focused on volume anymore because that's a byproduct in my opinion. So
good for you for jumping on the revenue maximizer. It's a gold nugget in the SYCB program that's available. Not everybody uses it. However, in our CEO Alliance program, our members use it religiously. They love it. They make it their own. They've customized it. And a lot of them have really seen great success from that. You mentioned your team meetings. I'm curious, what's different about your meetings now that you have these tools and the way you're communicating to people? What's some of the biggest differences in your meetings now versus before?
So before our team meeting, which we did have every week, was on a Monday, and a Monday before the guys actually set out to work. So we would all come in, 5 a.m, 6 a.m, and we would have basically a get together. And it really just became a chit chat session where, hey, have fun this week. It wasn't what it should have been, which is a planning session where we go through what the week is, what it looks like to win for them, our big five or our most important things list. What do we need from a material standpoint? What can we do in the office to help you out? Any labor issues you're having? What are the guys in the crew feeling? Like, we just go through now. So how do we do this? We use an agenda. First of all, we use an agenda. It's on paper and it's given to essentially the whole group with at least a day to go. So we can add or deduct. We can think about it, right? We can get some quick hitter thoughts through. We have a timeline. So there's hard stops because we don't want to be just meetings are, very unproductive if you just chit chat in my, experience. So we have a hard stop. We have an agenda, and the time of the week really did affect us doing it on Thursday. And we don't do it in the office anymore because we have crews. We were meeting in the office every Monday and everybody was dragging from the weekend. Nobody was really in it, right? They weren't alert. And we weren't able to affect change for that whole first week, and certainly not the first couple of days of the week. So if somebody had a problem on Monday, it was a wasted day. So if you do that, just say every 2 weeks in a year, 26 times a year, you've wasted a full day with a 7-man crew. It's a big number of amounts. So starting to look at it like that. So we basically do it as a Zoom call now or Google Meets. We just sit down and hit those items that are on the docket for the upcoming 2 weeks, materials, equipment, any labor issues, high fives. We just have the full agenda like has been laid out in SYPD, and it's so much more impactful. It gives us that ability to absorb change, right? It gives us the ability to get ahead of Murphy. And without that, I don't think we would be able to affect the change like we want. So it is the definition of implementing the systems, in my opinion.
It gives you the ability to absorb change. Yeah, you're right. Those issues are there. And if you have a meeting on Monday morning, those issues have been laying there all weekend. And then when they pop up on Monday, then you have no time to respond. You just lose time. But if you address those issues on Thursday, then you have Thursday morning, then you have time to absorb the change. I love that phrase. On one of our group calls, you shared a great question. You had a scripted question that you used when somebody from the field called looking for information. So can you talk about what that scripted question is and the thought process behind it?
I've been a big proponent in my entire leadership career of using technology, using what we have to our abilities. So we use Buildertrend. You can use whatever sort of, construction software platform you want. We use Buildertrend to house all of our plans, our documents, things like that. So if we get a call and there's something, we do what's called a pre-pour card, right? So every big pour and, some of the small pours, but not every, tiny 3-yard pour, but at least every substantial pour we do, we put together what's called a pour card. And it gives you all the square footages, all the yardage with materials, all that stuff. Anyway, a lot of times you'll get questions. The questions may range from where do these anchor bolts go, which are on the plans, to how much yardage, to who do I call, whatever it is. If there's a place in Buildertrend for that, and we have filled it out, even if we haven't, the scripted question is, that's a good question. Is there somewhere you can find that? And so the ownership is on us to, first of all, update Buildertrend in the office with the correct plans, keep it current, make sure any change plans are on there. Any sort of documentation that needs to be loaded, we get that right. And I hope, and so far it has been, where they call us out, hey, Cole, there's a change on this. Can you update the new plan? Boom, it's done, 30 seconds. Anyway, long story short, that is a good question. Is there somewhere you can find it? Is a script that I've always used in leadership. I borrowed it from the retail world because if there's one thing retail is good at, it's putting stuff on paper for you to find it. Not necessarily great on how to find it, but they do put it on. And what you can fall into as a leader is trying to make yourself important, right? You like the questions, whatever it is. If it's an insecurity you have, or and I'll admit, in construction, usually it's just because you started out your business by yourself. So you have the answers, right? You've done it for so long. Well, put it on paper, put the paper on a document that everybody can get to, and then ask the question, is there somewhere you can find that? Because then you teach them how to fish. You teach them how to be self-serving. You teach them how that your rings go from 1,000 a week to 500 to 200 to 100, right? You stop getting all them really, really small questions. Now, you have to look in the mirror, because if you're an insecure person and you love those rings because it ticks a box in your insecure mind, you'll fight this. But if you don't, if you can give away, I've always said to gain power, you give power. Nobody's powerful that has to do everything, right? And I'm not trying to be out here seeking power in life, but ultimately to be a leader, you have to do things through others. If the others can't do what you're trying to make them do because you haven't given them the source, then that's on you, right? So that's why I say look in the mirror when it comes to can you ask this question and confidently give them the task to go look and find it. Now, don't let them waste a day doing it, right? Maybe bump them off on track a little bit every now and again. But the first trigger should be, is there a place you can find that? And you'll find yourself doing this with your own phone calls before you call somebody else or in the office. It's a pretty cool game once you get it going. Our operations manager, Jason, and I, we do that to each other all the time. Hey, Jason, where's this? Is there a good place you can find that call? So you'll find yourself doing it. But yeah, that's not my views in retail world, but it really works here too, especially, if you start implementing whatever builder trend or software you use to its full effect, it can be a great career.
There's another question somebody shared with me years ago that I like, which is, I recommend people write this on a Post-it note, stick it somewhere on your wall, on your computer. And it says, how can this be the last time I answer this question? And that's when somebody asks you a question, that's a good one to ask yourself. How can this be the last time I answer this question? And then some other folks who are on one of the SYCB group calls said they tell their people in the field, hey, when you ask a question, ask yourself, how can this be the last time I ask this question? If everybody's thinking, how can this be the last time I answer this question? How can this be the last time I ask this question? Where can we put this so I never have to ask again? That eliminates so much chaos, makes everybody's life easier. Yeah, I like that. So you guys have been great at implementing these systems. You've done a lot of work. You've seen some results. What would you say are some of the biggest results, most impactful results that you've seen as a result of putting these systems in place in your business?
I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers, right? I think generally that's something about it is attractive. If you can execute these systems, does it actually pay for itself? And without question, it has, in terms of, we just now have finished Q3 financials and put them to bed, and that it was our biggest quarter in 3.5 years. So when I say our biggest, I'm meaning our highest margin and our highest volume. So it wasn't because we went really low on volume that we achieved margin, or vice versa. We had really high margin and big. That was a huge high five. It was a huge win for the company. And then secondarily, our time, right? Being able to have the operations manager. I asked him many times throughout the system, but I think that the hard number I'm getting is that he's getting at least 10 hours a week back because of these systems and being able to implement them. And what do those 10 hours equate to? Whether it be time with family, time at church, time to go and strategize more, whatever it is, it's savings, right? Time is extremely valuable, especially the higher up you can go. So specifically, we've gained a lot more time. Our financials are starting to come into the line where we always want them to be, but haven't been able to achieve. The team itself, we've been able to streamline. We've cut some baggage. Some people that were hiding behind chaos. That's the best way I could describe it, right? If you find somebody, and this is going to sound silly, but in my entire career, I've been around a lot of people who like to suck off the system. They find the way to be a third burner, not a back burner, and they sit there and they hide behind it, right? They hide behind the problems in the business and things like that. So we've been able to trim some fat from that standpoint. So yeah, there's been a lot of wins in that regard, but specifically the finances, which is ultimately, I know you hate to be a number, like people matter, but you can't keep people around if you can't produce, right? You can't hire 30 plus employees if you can't keep the money coming in and out, right? So it's valuable. And then, just being able to find the people that weren't on board really quickly with systems, that's helped a lot for sure.
Yeah, I've seen that several times. There are people who hide, and it becomes glaringly obvious once you put systems in place. How did those people who are the third burner, who are hiding behind the chaos, how did they show up? How did going through this process make them show up?
If you say this is what winning looks like, you have that on paper, and then you say, is person X doing this? And then you say, okay, they're not. Well, let's give them the tools to do it. Let's make sure they understand that that's what it means to win. Let's make sure, I've always said this, there's only two reasons somebody doesn't do something: the skill or the will. I cannot give them the will. I can give them the skill, teach them, coach them. Mentorship is reserved for the slight few, but I can, teach and coach. And if I've done that and they're still not changing, then that's their will part, and I can't affect that. Now I can do all my diligence. I want to be able to look in the mirror and say, I gave every opportunity to make a change in this person, and they didn't make the change. Then I can go to sleep at night with a clear conscience. But ultimately, if you have this is what winning looks like document, and you can compare those people to what winning looks like, are they doing it? And if they're not, you have to make that choice, because, you can demote them, you can fire them, whatever you call it. But if you say this is what winning looks like, and people that aren't doing that are in the role long term, you will not have a successful crew. And the other people will finally, see that it's accepted, and they'll start to take that same sort of trajectory. So, you're accepting it if you don't make a change. So identifying it with this is what it looks like to win, and then make the change. It's hard. I get it. It's people, right? I hate the thought of somebody not having a job, and that's why I want to make sure I do everything I can to make sure that they understand that they're not living up to the role. But if they still choose to not get on board, then that's there, and it's okay. I can accept that.
What you said there is good. It reminds me of a statement: it's not what you celebrate, it's what you tolerate. If you're fortunate enough to have A players on your team and you tolerate C players, then pretty soon you'll have all C players, because those A players will either leave or they'll drop down because they can't stand mediocrity. And A players love to know what winning looks like. They want to see the scoreboard. They want to know they're putting points on the board. And what I found in some cases, those B and C players, they get really uncomfortable eventually, and they leave because they don't have anywhere to hide anymore.
And it pops up a lot faster. When you have it identified, it's not, I think eventually people will suck the life out of the system until the shit goes down. But hopefully eventually somebody will find them out, but it just happens really quickly, right? And when you hire, you can fail faster. I mean, we're all going to fail, but you can fail faster and move on, and then, expose what is not being done quicker. I think that's a huge lifeblood of a company, is how fast they can fail and move on. Hanging on to a bad mistake too long is a death blow. It can do, right? I mean, hopefully it isn't, but it can be a death blow. Hang on to a poor choice. So
yeah, don't let that person burn you twice. It's bad enough they burned you when you made a hire, but don't let them continue to burn you every day, every week, every month by just keeping them around. So, Cole, if somebody was thinking about joining our Systematize Your Construction Business program, but maybe they're a little hesitant, what advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them is to do it, and I'll share with you why, okay? In my previous life, we did tire changes, right? So tire changes for the motorcycle industry, it doesn't make much money, but it's a reason people go to a motorcycle store. So I would have my store manager in the back room changing tires, visit after visit after visit. And I would keep asking them, why are you doing tires? You're a very expensive tire change. I don't have time to teach somebody. That was the excuse I got. And every time I kept telling them, you don't have time not to. I told them, I'm not going to make this for you because you're the store manager. But if I do have to make this choice for you and teach your people how to change tires, I'll have to change the store manager. Long story short, those that did it would be on the floor selling, be in the back room strategizing. They would get out away from the task, right? And they would all tell me the same thing. They didn't have time to do it. And I would tell them the same thing back. You don't have time not to teach your people to change tires. Well, how do you do it? You make time to make time. You come in early. You stay late. You do whatever you have to do to make the time to teach your people how to change tires, and get yourself 5 tire changers instead of 1. With 5 tire changers, you now can change 5 times the amount of tires. Yes, somebody's going to screw up. So what? You're not going to have it perfect because you've been doing it 20 years. They might be a newbie, but eventually they'll be, effective at changing tires. Same goes for systematizing your business. You have to make the time to make the time. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you got, and that's chaos, And so ultimately, I would say from a financial benefit, from a time benefit, every benefit that I could give you, you have to do this and make the time for yourself. If you don't, you're going to keep going down that path. And at best case scenario, next year, you're going to say, I should have done it. Best case scenario. Worst case, you shut your doors because the path that you're on is bleeding, and bleeding doesn't stop by itself. It takes effort. So that's what I would tell them.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think there's a myth that people believe, which is, yeah, I'm going to do that, but this is just not really a good time right now. I'm too busy. I don't have time. We're going to wait until I have more time, wait until things settle down, wait until we have more money. We kick the can down the road. Basically, we say, you know what? I think future me is going to be better equipped to handle this than I am. And you just keep kicking the can down the road. What's one piece of advice about business you wish somebody would have given you 10 or 20 years ago?
Specifically, when it comes to people, surround yourself with great people and don't lose them to money. So I've been told that by really, really high up executives at a, billion-dollar company. Go and drive around in his extremely expensive sports car. He told me that he's never lost an individual to pay. You think you don't have the money in the business? Look at the business. Your business isn't what it is if you can't pay the people. And ultimately, when it comes to hiring, fail fast. I said that around already. It's tough because it is people. But I hired a gentleman who came into work, and I fired him that day because it was an immediate bad fit. He interviewed with a 3-piece suit. Told me, I'm cleared to go, and he was. His clearance was FBI background, blah blah blah. Is the first day I had to correct him 5 times on little things, and he knew, and it just wasn't. You're going to spend the Pareto principle 80% of your time correcting 20% of the people that aren't producing, but less than 20% of your production. So change that, get away from that, fail fast, surround yourself with the best people you can, pay them what they're worth, keep them if you can. People are going to leave, but don't lose them to money if you can absolutely have to. And then the final thing is standards are there for a reason. I know this sounds hard, but don't lower your standards for good people. What does that mean? Good people get you fired. They have to produce what you make them, set on paper. I heard it every day. Well, tell me about little Susie. She's really good. She's a really good person. No, I'm asking you about her production because we have to pay the bills. She's being hired to do a job. She's a good person. I get it. High five. Now, what about the production? So don't lower your standards for good people. Look for good people that also will meet your standards. That's the best case, best advice I can give.
Well, I appreciate it, Cole. Congratulations on the success you guys have seen. It'll be fun to watch you guys over the next 6 months, 12 months. Speaking of that, what are some of the results you're looking forward to over the next 12 months or so? What are the things you expect to, or are you looking forward to seeing?
I guess more of the same from a financial standpoint, right? If we can hit the same numbers through some effectively slower times for us, that would be great. From a business standpoint, repeat and repeat, right? I want to rinse and repeat what we've done on specific areas of the business on other areas, right? You can't, with the systematize your business, you'll know that you're focused on planning, pre-production, or pre-construction, things like that. So I'm really excited about being able to take those same techniques and apply them to every facet of the business, and get ourselves. We're never going to be done, right? So get ourselves to a point where we're now knocking off a little bit of problems instead of huge glaring cancers of the company. So I'm looking forward to that on each financial side of it or training side of it, everything. I really am. It's exciting.
If folks want to connect with you guys, find you on find your website, social media, maybe apply for a job, contact you about some work, where's the best place or best places for them to go? Yeah,
so we do have Facebook, Matchless Concrete, and then we have a website, matchlessconcrete.com, and we're in Greer in the upstate South Carolina. So yeah, so they can find us on either Facebook or on the website for sure.
I'll be sure to put those links in the show notes. Cole, it's been a pleasure working with you. Thanks for taking the time to be on here, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Todd here. And one more thing before you go. Look, if you own a construction business and you want to put the right systems in place so you can either scale it up, maybe you want to step away from it, be able to take a proper vacation, maybe you want to sell it someday, maybe you just want to have more freedom, or maybe make it more profitable, or maybe you just want to get out of constant firefighting mode and make your phone stop ringing all the time. You really have three options if you want to make a meaningful change in your business. Option one is do nothing. Status quo, keep doing the same things, getting the same results. Option two, you can DIY it. You can do it yourself. You can reinvent the wheel. You can read books, listen to podcasts, try to piece together a solution, use trial and error. Or option number three, if you want meaningful change, is to find a proven system that delivers the results you're looking for. Sort of like if you use software for project management or for your bookkeeping, I assume you probably didn't try to code your own software. You found a proven system that delivered the results you're looking for, right? Well, if you're looking for a proven system to systematize your business, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners implement our systems in their business, specifically our nail the handoff pre-construction process in their business. It works for home builders, remodelers, commercial general contractors. It also works really well for trade contractors like electricians, concrete contractors, site, utility, plumbing. And it's part of our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So if you want to see what systematizing your business looks like, what nailing the handoff looks like, and the positive side effects that come with that, then the next step would be to schedule a free business evaluation call with my team. And you could do that by going to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY, or just go to our website, constructionleadingedge.com, and tap the Apply Now button. You'll learn about the 5-step process we've helped hundreds of people implement to systematize their construction business. Most importantly, you'll get an objective third-party evaluation of your business to answer one really big question. Is your business designed to fail, or is it designed to succeed? So let me ask you this. If your business was unintentionally designed to fail, when would you rather find out? Now, while there's time to do something about it, or later on when it's maybe too late? This business evaluation call is totally free. There are no strings attached, no pressure. And it could be the best hour you've spent working on your business in a long time. So our schedule fills up pretty quickly. So if you're interested, go over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, or go to constructionleadingedge.com and tap the Apply Now button to book your business evaluation call. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you got value out of this podcast. If you could take a moment, if you did, and leave a rating or a review, or share this with somebody who needs to hear it, I would appreciate it. Todd Dawalt from Construction Leading Edge. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.